Hi, I'm Ellie and welcome back to my Toyota Hiace I've called Arcadia, which I have just finished self-converting for traveling in. And way back before I began my conversion, I created a video where I went through my van design and layout ideas. So today I'm going to be watching that and going through everything that I followed and that went to plan and everything I did differently. I'm Ellie Wilder and you're watching Wilder in Motion. As anyone who's ever taken on a big project would know, it's good to have a plan, but things don't always work out in real life the same way they do inside your head. So I've got the video here now and let's have a watch. Here it's going to be the classic 2 bench seat with the fold out section here that goes over the aisle to form a narrow queen size bed. So this is what I ended up doing. I did have 2 seats and the right hand side is 60 centimeters. I'm doing things a little bit differently, so this section here is actually storage, and then there's this narrow fixed bench seat, and then for bed mode it slides across so the bottom bench becomes covering the aisle. I have got my narrow storage cabinet here and the narrow fixed bench seat, so I did end up following this. However, the middle section doesn't actually slide out. That didn't end up working, so instead it folds out on a hinge, but it does all create a slightly narrow queen size bed. This line here is upper cupboards. So I didn't end up doing the upper cupboards because I just didn't need the extra storage space and I wanted it to just feel a bit taller because this van isn't quite tall enough to stand in, so I didn't want anything that was going to make it feel even shorter. Over here there's going to be wardrobes in this right hand section here, and that's going to go right up to the ceiling. There'll be a fold down table on a drawer slider so it can slide forward. Ah yes, my fold down table, which is going to go on the side of my wardrobe. In the end, the side of the wardrobe just wasn't big enough for how big I wanted the table to be, but in that little clip there from Eamon and Beck's YouTube channel, they had the fold down table, which I do have here, and this is my bench top. So I did still use that idea of having that fold down bench space, but I didn't use it off the side of the wardrobe. Instead, for my kind of dining table, I've used my ironing board, which I've converted into a folding table that just stores in this narrow storage cabinet, and that is what I've been using for a workspace or an eating area. In this wardrobe here, there'll be a cupboard accessed through here that will have all my computer and all my pencils and all that kind of workstation stuff. So I do still have that storage nook that's open at the side there, but it's more of an electronics nook as opposed to having my laptop in there. It has my chargers and some stationery in it. Inside will be some drawers that will have clothes storage, and also on the bottom will be the toilet. This middle section is food storage, and there'll be some hanging space for clothes. And then this end bit here is the fridge, and then there'll be storage above that as well. So in my wardrobe I do have mesh drawers very similar to that for my clothes, but the toilet is underneath the kitchen area. And I do have that food storage in the middle there in more mesh baskets. And the fridge is on the end. However, the storage above is actually the hanging space, not next to the food. So I did have to rejig this wardrobe quite a bit. I mean, I still did stay similar to my original design, but mainly the toilet just wasn't an efficient use of space underneath those drawers. It was better to just have drawers going the whole way and put the toilet over on the other side underneath the sink area and have that whole area where the plumbing was just be the kind of wet area. I'm going to have the sink roughly there and a 2-burner gas cooktop roughly here. So I do have my sink at the edge there and my 2-burner fixed gas cooktop there as well. And on this wall will be a fold down bench, so that will extend the kitchen bench area. Yep, right here. So the wider one here has this office nook, which I mentioned earlier, that's accessed from this side when you're sitting at the bench seat. So my office nook is in that location, but it goes all the way across. It doesn't just go until about halfway. So the main reason the wardrobe didn't work is because of the curvature of the van. So you can actually see in this middle illustration here, I have drawn the curvature, but I just didn't factor that in well enough to building the wardrobe, which meant that it ended up being too tall that I couldn't actually push it far enough back into the curvature. And this meant that I ended up having to cut the wardrobe down. I made a whole video on how the wardrobe didn't work out the first time. And then on top of the wardrobe, to fit the curvature, I made a shallower separate cabinet that has my toiletries in it. As you can see, that's the bench seat side on. Then there's going to be this pine board that's just this one line here, connected by a hinge. So I've got a 60cm cushion on the bottom and a 50cm one that sits on top that becomes the backrest. This pulls out and covers across the aisle. So yes, I had this idea that I could have a plywood board at the back and one at the bottom, have those attached with a hinge, and then when I pulled out the bottom one, it would bring the whole thing down so it was laying flat. However, the van isn't actually flat like that at the side. It is at a kind of angle like this, kind of the whole way up, which meant that the ply wouldn't stay up. So I just decided to do a lift up the cushion and then fold it out over the top. Over here with the electrics, with the top view here, there'll be 2 solar panels. I haven't quite decided whether they'll be at the front or the back yet. That depends on the exact positioning of this 12-volt fan. Then I've got the battery stored underneath the bench seat on this side, and that will feed some 12-volt and USB outlets inside my office nook. We'll also feed the 12-volt outlet for the fridge and a 12-volt water pump for the kitchen tap. So I ended up putting them at the front, and the 12-volt fan is pretty much exactly there. And yep, the battery's under there, it's just going at a different angle. So the 12-volt outlets are at the back of that electrics nook, just on the back wall. And they power the fridge. I don't have a separate 12-volt outlet for that. My pump is there, the lights are there, and the gas is there. So I followed that pretty much exactly. And then over here with the plumbing, 2 20-litre fresh water and grey water tanks. So I didn't have room for them both to be 20-litre, so the grey water is 10 litres, but the fresh water is 20. And it also feeds this shower nozzle. This is really hard to explain, but basically out of here there will be a retractable hose, and that can be used as an outdoor shower or just for rinsing things off. So I did originally plan to have that separate shower nozzle. However, because my tap can swivel around and it's right in front of the door, it can actually hang outside, I can use that as a shower as well. That was really interesting. I thought I did way more things differently from my original design. I'm actually surprised at how relatively similar the van has turned out. It's really just the wardrobe and the things related to that has changed. If you want to know more about the actual details of my final van build, then check out my van tour video. I have plenty more van life videos coming your way as I set off on my journey. I post new videos every single Saturday, so if you want to come along for the ride, then be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.